أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم وفقنا وسائر المشتغلين للعلم والعمل الصالح بحق محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. قال الإمام علي عليه السلام: أيها الناس اتقوا الله، أيها الناس اتقوا الله، فما خلق امرؤ عبثا فيلهو. أيها الناس اتقوا الله، فما خلق امرؤ عبثا فيلهو، ولا ترك سدى فيلغو، ولا ترك سدى فيلغو. يعني نلاحظ هذه الأيام كثير من الناس ما شاء الله لازم الموبايل وقاضي 24 ساعة الوقت مالته إما بالألعاب إما على قولتهم scrolling the Facebook or something like that. فهذه يسمونه له. أنت ما انخلقت لهذا الشيء، أنت خلقت لشيء أعظم، فلا تنزل بنفسك لتحط من قيمتك إلى أدنى من هذا. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, O people, revere Allah, for man was not created in vain, that he may amuse himself, nor has he been abandoned to futility that he may be vain. So in both cases you have been created for something bigger. And Allah said in His Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا, the purpose of my creature I create creatures for what? For being worshipping me, not wasting time. This is very important. Okay, going back to Islamic laws, exemption, nabsh al-qubur. Okay, it is not allowed for anybody or some reasons to exempt or dig the graves unless there are some reasons. For example, what are these reasons? While they burying the deceased, somebody lost his expensive properties in the grave, or there are some important documents just like passport, or sometimes the evidence of somebody being what? Being free, not a criminal, was in the grave. In these cases and some other cases we're going to mention, we have to dig the grave, otherwise it is not allowed. Sometimes people, they said, yeah, we have to take our person or our deceased from this grave to another grave. Why? What is the reason? They gave reason which are not important or which are not written. It happened with us. It happened with us that when we came and to bury some, actually my brother, my elder brother, we found 2 or 3 graves, new graves in our cemetery. Who are they? We do not know who are they. Then we asked, who are they? They said they are strangers. Okay, I didn't put my nose in the middle, but my nephew, he said, I don't agree, because he is the hero of his father. He said, I don't agree for them to be in my cemetery. So they came and they took their bodies from that cemetery, because this grave are what? Or these graves are what? Are usurped. Are usurped. It is haram to bury a deceased in a usurped graves or land. Ruling number 649. It is haram to open the grave of a Muslim, even it belongs to a child or an insane person. This is the general حكم. It is haram. Whether this grave for a child or it is for what? For an insane person. It is haram. This is the hukum. However, there is no objection in doing so. That means it is allowed to dig the grave if, definitely not generally, there is exception, if the deceased has decayed and turned into dust. If the deceased has been decayed and turned into dust, okay, doesn't matter. To dig the grave and to bury another one right there, doesn't matter. However, there is no objection in doing so if the deceased has decayed and turned into dust. There is ishkal, it means obligatory precaution. Ishkal means obligatory precaution. What does it mean, obligatory precaution? I know it is ihtiyat wujub in Arabic. How we can act. Yes. You have the mic, please. Give her the mic. Turned on.
It means we can act according to our mujtahid or to another mujtahid.
The act according to our mujtahid in this verdict, not to dig.
Yes.
Okay.
Or to go to another mujtahid and
who is the most knowledgeable of the rest of the mujtahideen, and he has a verdict.
Yes. He has a verdict. Our mujtahid.
No, not our mujtahid. Our mujtahid, he does not have a verdict. He has obligatory precaution. Ishkal.
We can follow him
or leave him in this, only on this verdict, and to go to another jurist. Good, thank you. There is ishkal, and as an obligatory precaution, it is not permissible to exhume the deceased even if the deceased has a will to be exhumed. He has been written in his will to be exhumed and to move from this grave to another grave and transferred to a sacred places. It is not allowed as obligatory precaution. Or the guardian promised to do this. The guardian, he promised the deceased to do this after the situation being safety, to take his deceased from, like to say, from Nasriya, from Basra, to where? To Najaf or to Karbala. Not allowed. On account not to discredit him. On account not to discredit him. In case not to discredit or to show irrespect for this deceased. Like what? Like if the deceased has been demolished and he has his body has been scattered, bad smell, and so on. Ruling number 650. Digging up or destroying the graves of the descendants of imams. Descendants of imams. Not the infallible imams. The descendants of the imams. يعني السادة. قبور السادة. مو قبور الأئمة المعصومين. لا هذول غير. هذول descendants أحفادهم. Digging up or destroying the graves of the descendants of imams, the martyrs, the ulama, and the pious persons is haram. It is a verdict. It is haram. Even the pious people, even the ulama, martyrs, it is haram. What they did with Zayd ibn Ali. Huh? What they did with him. Yeah, they dig the grave, they took him out of the grave, and they hang him on a tree, upside down, and they do something bad with him. All right, even if they are very old, even if they are very old, it is not allowed, because it is amounts of discretion. It shows disrespect. It shows disrespect to them. Ruling number 651, digging up the graves is allowed in the following cases. Not only these following cases, definitely there are some other cases, inshallah we will take them. But here we have some of them. Number one, when the deceased has been buried in a usurped land. هاي قبل شوية قلت لكم لما يدفن في أرض مغصوبة and the owner of the land is not willing to let it remain there. The owner of the land is not willing, is not accepting to let this deceased to be buried in this land anymore. So their family, their relatives, they have to come and to dig the grave, to take the deceased and to bury it where? To somewhere else, which is allowable to bury there. Ruling number two, when the coffin of the deceased or any other thing buried with it had been usurped, either the coffin is usurped, it does not belong to him, they steal it, or they didn't pay the money of this coffin, this shroud. Okay, so they have to dig the grave and to take the coffin out. It is haram. Sometimes no, they put something usurped, just like they buried some agates. يستحب واحد يدفن العقيقة مالته مثلا وياه بعدين this agate seems to be what? Usurped. We have to dig and to take out this usurped agate. And the owner of the thing in question is not willing to let it remain in the grave. The same, similarly, it means the same hukum, it is allowed to dig the grave. If anything belonging to the hearers has been buried along with the deceased and the hearers are not willing to let it remain in the grave. Anything belong to the hearers and they are not allowed to let this thing to be buried with the deceased, so here they have a permission, they have agreement to dig the grave and to take that thing out of what? Out of the grave. However, if the deceased had made a will that a certain supplication or the Holy Quran or a ring be buried along with his dead body, and if that will be valid, then the grave cannot be opened up to bring those articles out. Why? Because he has written a will, and this will is valid, it is not void. In this case, it is not allowed for them to what? To dig the grave and to take these things out of the grave. Sometimes, for example, the deceased, he made, let's say, the expensive thing is the agate or the shroud itself will be expensive. The shroud, it will be expensive. It is legal, the shroud, يعني كفن شرعي, but the problem is it is so expensive. How it is so expensive? The kind of the cloth, the type of the cloth, and they wrote many verses of the Holy Quran with شو يسمونه هذا الحبر الزعفران, okay, with saffron, and so it is so expensive. and he wrote that this shroud and this agate will be with me in my grave. So it is not allowed for anybody to come and dig and take it out from the grave. There are certain situations when the exhumation is not permitted, even if the land, the coffin, or the articles buried with the corpse are usurped. Even, again, there are certain situations when the exhuming is not permitted, even if the land, the coffin, or the articles buried with the corpse are usurped, but there is no room for details here. We can go to Ilal al-Shara'i and we will find these things. Sometimes, I know, right there we can discuss it, inshallah. Ruling number 3, where we can dig, when we have permission to dig the grave. Number 3, when opening the grave does not amount a disrespect to the deceased. What does mean does not amount disrespect? As I told you at the beginning of the lecture, that the smell of the deceased, its body, and so on, these things. And it transpires that he was buried without ghusl or kafan. We know that this deceased has been buried without what? Without ghusl and without kafan. In this case, it is allowed to dig the grave, to take the deceased out of the grave, give him ghusl and give him shroud, kafan, and bury him again. Or the ghusl was void, or the ghusl of the deceased was what? Was void. In this case, also it is allowed to dig the grave. Or he was not given kafan according to religious rules. Like what? Like we put his head not to the, we laid him not on the right side. We laid the deceased on the left side and let its back to where? To Kaaba, not his face to Qibla. This is against what? This is against our Islamic codes. Okay, in this case it is allowed to dig the grave and to take the deceased out and to put it in a right manner. Or was not laid in the grave facing the Qibla. Number 4, when it is necessary to inspect the body of the deceased to establish a right which is more important than exhumation. Like what? As I told you, to find out whether this deceased has been executed, eliminated, or killed by somebody else, or he just died like that. To find the fact, the truth, because somebody has been accused that he has killed this person, and if we dig and take the body of this deceased, we will find out that, for example, this person is what? Is innocent. Yeah, it is a good reason, it is an acceptable reason to dig and exhume this deceased. Number 5, when the deceased of a Muslim has been buried at a place which is against sanctity. Yeah, that means like when it has been buried in the graveyard of a non-Muslim or at a place of a garbage. It is a good reason also, it is allowed to dig and to take out this deceased from this garbage place or from non-Muslim cemetery. Number 6, when the grave is opened up for a legal purpose, which is more important than exhumption. For example, when it is proposed to take out a living child from the womb of a buried woman. They thought that the child is dead. A pregnant woman dies and they buried her. Then after a while they discover that the child is still alive. The child is still alive. Then it is very important to dig the grave and to take the deceased mother and to take out the child from her womb and to bury her again. Number 7, when it is feared that a wild beast would tear up the corpse, or it will be carried away by flood or exhumed by the enemy. It happens, if you remember, Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, rahmatullah alayh. I think the person who buried him, he moved the body of Sayyid Muhammad Baqir for 7 times or 6 times, from grave to another grave, from grave to another grave, in order not to be exhumed by whom? By al-Ba'thiyah. May Allah curse them all. Eh? This is one thing. And there are many things. Number 8, and also if you think that a beast or a wild animal maybe come and take out this body out of the grave, and it will turn it away into pieces, so it's an excuse to dig the grave and to take this deceased body to bury it in somewhere else, which is more safer for the deceased, in order not to be eaten by the beasts. Number 8, when the deceased has willed that his body be transferred to sacred places before burial, and if it was intentionally or forgetfully buried elsewhere, then the body can be exhumed, provided that doing so does not result any disrespect to the deceased. And I think, if you remember, I think Sayyid al-Qazwini, one of the Qazawna Sada in Qom, after the burial, after 20 years of his burial, 20 years, he was willing to be buried where? In Karbala. But they buried him where? In Qom. After 20 years, when they dig the grave, they found him as if they just buried him. His body is okay. There is no, yeah, still fresh. And even the shroud is still white, no bad smell. So they transfer it from Qom to Karbala. It is buried right here in Shiraziya Hall. Now, recommendable baths. Do you have any question? Yes.
شيخنا هو لما دفنوا السيد أمنوه بالأرض ورجعوا ورا 20 سنة لقوا على وضعيته ولا لا دفن يعني؟
هم بكته دفنوه، بس هو كان عنده وصية إنه يدفن هنا في كربلاء. لا دفنوه. هو الدفن بس من الأرض. هاي واحد. أي بس بالنسبة للسيد لا دفنوه هناك، بس هو كان وصيته إنه يدفن في كربلاء، بس ما تنفذت الوصية مالته. فدفنوه هناك. بعد 20 سنة لما نبشوا القبر لسبب ما أعرف إعمار أو شيء، وجدوا الجثة على ما هي عليه، جابوها لهنا.
يعني سؤال، يعني هم لما وجدوا الجثة على ما هي عليه، لأنه هو عالم يعني لو لأنه هم مأمنين بالأرض، لأنه أنا أعرف اللي مأمنين اللي يأمنون يوم الأرض يقولون نفس ما.
Not only that, even if you keep on performing ghusl al-Jum'ah, okay, your body will stay as it is. There are many reasons. Yeah, Ta'ameen, one reason, another reason. To keep on ghusl al-Jum'ah, okay? These are the reasons which keep your body as it is. No, it will never be demolished at all. Yeah. What else? Okay. Recommended baths. In Islam, ruling number 652. In Islam, several ghusls are mustahab. Some of them are listed below. Mustahab. Okay? And some of the mustahab ghusls are highly recommended. And they, it could be, you can perform your prayers, obligatory prayers, recommended prayers with that ghusl. Just like ghusl al-Jum'ah. Number one, ghusl al-Jum'ah, its prescribed time is from Fajr to sunset. From Fajr, according to Sayyid Sistani, according to Sayyid Khou'i, no, from طلوع النهار. وأكو اختلاف بين سيد السيستاني والسيد أبو القاسم الخوئي على النهار. السيد السيستاني من طلوع الفجر، السيستاني من طلوع النهار، فكل من يرجع لتقليده. Its prescribed time is from Fajr to sunset, حد المغرب. But it is better to perform it near Dhuhr. يعني as recommended to perform it where? Near Dhuhr, near Dhuhr, yes, near Dhuhr set, prayer set. Okay? But it's better to perform it near Dhuhr. If, however, a person does not perform it till noon, he can perform it till dusk without any form of either performing it on time, ada, or as qada. After Dhuhr, you can perform salat, ghusl al-Jum'ah with a general niyyah, without an intention of being ada or qada. And if a person does not perform, هذا كلش ممتاز. It has great benefits. غسل الجمعة يعني داوموا عليه وراح تشوفون البركات مالته. And if a person does not perform his ghusl on a Friday, it is mustahab that he should perform the qada of ghusl on Saturday. يعني لو ما هيك مهم ما يسوي له قضاء، مو بس يوم السبت، حتى انه يوم الجمعه اذا ما تتوقعين تقدرين تغتسلين سفر وماكو ماي ما شو تقدمين غسل يا يوم الخميس. ايش قد مهم لعد هذا الغسل. Okay, غسل on Saturday's night and day till dusk. A person knows that it will not be possible for him to procure water for his ghusl on Friday. He can perform the ghusl on Thursday with the niyyah of raja, biraja al-matlubiyya. That is as a desirable act. Look how important this ghusl, for that if a person he does not perform it on a Friday, he can give qada on Saturday. Or if he cannot perform it on Friday because of there is no water or because he is traveling, he or she can perform ghusl as raja with the intention of raja al-matlubiyya on Thursday. That is as a desirable act, and it is mustahab to recite the following supplication while performing a Friday ghusl. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد واجعلني من التوابين واجعلني من المتطهرين. This supplication should be said while performing ghusl al-Jum'ah. I testify that there is none to be worshipped but Allah alone, who has no associate, and Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, is his servant and messenger. O Allah, bless Muhammad and his progeny, and make me one of those who are repentant and pure. 2. Taking baths on the first and 17th nights, and in the earlier part of the 19th, 21st, 23rd nights, and 24th night of the holy month of Ramadan. So we have specific nights in Ramadan to perform what? To perform ghusl. Now, let us check whether these are ghusuls. Can we pray without performing ablution or not? Let's check. He will give it. Do not say. أنا قلت لكم لا تسولفون من جيب الصفحة. أي خلي نشوف نقرأ أحسن. Taking baths on the 1st and 17th nights, and in the earlier part. يعني شنو؟ في أول الليل. في أول الليل بيع 19th, 21st, 23rd nights, and 24th night of the holy month of Ramadan. 3. Ghusl on Eid al-Fitr day and Eid al-Adha day. The time of this ghusl is from Fajr up to the sunset. It is, however, better to perform it before Eid prayer. 4. Ghusl on the 8th and 9th of the month of Dhul Hijjah. As regards the bathing on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, is better to perform it at noon time. Excuse me. Number 5. Ghusl by the person who has touched a deceased after it has been given ghusl. This is as a recommended. We are talking, or we are reading or studying, or the recommended ghusuls. The recommended ghusuls. Number 6. Ghusl for ihram, pilgrim's dress. 7. Ghusl for entry into the haram of Mecca. Entry the haram, not Mecca, not Kaaba itself, only the haram. 8. Ghusl for entry into Mecca, the limits of Mecca, entering the limits of Mecca, not the haram. Look, here we have to distinguish between 3 things: the borders of Mecca, the haram of Mecca, and the Kaaba. Okay? So, ghusl for entry into the haram of Mecca. 8. Ghusl for entry into Mecca. 9. Ghusl for visiting the holy Kaaba. 10. Ghusl for entry into the holy Kaaba. Entering the holy Kaaba, the same Kaaba, you have to هذا خاف تفاعل ويا الدرس معلف بعد بها كعبة ومكة، وهذا أكيد يعني. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Ghusl for number 11. Ghusl for slaughtering an animal and for shaving one's head during pilgrimage. يعني عندنا غسل عند النحر وغسل عند الحلق، بعد الحلق عفوا. إن شاء الله يرزقنا وإياكم. أنتم ما عليكم حلق، أنتم عليكم بس شوية تقصير الشعر. إحنا لا، إذا حج صرورة أول مرة لا نحلق، أما أنا مثلا بعد لا، ما يحتاج أحلق، ممكن الشيفنج الشوية هاي إنها ماكو شعر شوية. 12. Ghusl for entry into Medina and its haram sanctuary. الغسل المن دخول مدينة النبي صلى الله عليه وآله. Ghusl for entry into the masjid of the Holy Prophet. نحتاج غسل المن إلى دخول المسجد النبوي. Number 14. Ghusl at the time of bidding farewell to the sacred shrine of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. واللي داخل وين؟ إلى داخل القبر النبوي الشريف. 15 غسل for مباهلة embarkation with the enemy. Number 16 غسل to a newborn child, غسل الطفل الحديث الولادة تغسيله. 17 غسل for prayer of استخارة، اكو عندنا الاستخارة اللي يريد اكو غسل للاستخارة. Number 18 غسل for offering prayer of استسقاء invocation for rain. لما الواحد يريد يطلع للاستسقاء يسوي غسل، هذه recommended. هسه راح نشوف منو من ذني اللي تغني عن الوضوء، منو اللي ما تغني عن الوضوء. Ruling number 653. The fuqaha have mentioned many more mustahab ghusls, some of which are as follows. Number 1 ghusl on all odd nights of the month of Ramadan and on each of its last 10 nights and in the last part of its 23rd night. يعني الثالثة، الخامسة، السابعة، التاسعة، ال11، 13، 15، 17، 19، 21 إلى 29 يستحب من الليالي الفرد من شهر رمضان. 2 غسل on the 24th day. والليالي الأخيرة يستحب كلها واحد يغتسلها، الليالي العشرة الأخيرة. 2 غسل on the 24th day of ذو الحجة، يوم 24 من ذو الحجة. Number 3 غسل on the day of Eid Nowruz and 15th of Sha'ban and 9th and 17th of Rabi' al-Awwal and the 25th day of Dhul Qa'dah. 4 we have غسل by a woman who has perfumed. سمعوها هاي زين، كل الزين سمعوها. غسل by a woman who has perfumed herself for someone other than her husband، خصوصا الموظفات اللي تطلع للسوق تجي درس تتعطر ترجع تغتسل. أحوط استحباب. يعني الحديث عند يعني أنا قرأت الرواية يقول من تعطرت وخرجت فإذا مرت بمجموعة رجال عندما ترجع إلى بيتها تغتسل كغسلها من الجنابة. أساس الثاني عند استحباب. أي 5 غسل by one who slept in a state of intoxication. 6 غسل by a person who went to witness the hanging and saw the hanged person. غسل by a person who went to witness the hanging and saw the hanged person. هذا اللي راح يشهد عملية الشنق، اللي يشهد عملية الشنق، أو إيش راح يسوي؟ راح يشوف واحد مشنوق، كون من يرجع يغتسل، يستحب له يغتسل. However, if his eyes fell on him by chance or helplessly, or if he had gone, for example, he gave evidence, غسل would not be مستحب for him. إذا هذا هو جاي يمشي وعينه جت صدفت على هذا المشنوق بدون يعني مقاصد، ما رايح بشكل متقصد انه يشهد عملية الشنق او يشهد انه ينظر الى هذا المشنوق، لا، بعد حتى هذا الاستحباب يرتفع، حتى هذا الاستحباب يرتفع. طبعا do not forget we are talking about recommended acts, recommended baths, but definitely the recommended baths has what have positive effect، يعني إلى نواحي إيجابية على الإنسان. ونقول side effect, either these side effects positive or negative, these are having what positive effects. Number 7 غسل of the ziyar of the معصومين عليهم السلام, whether from near or far. However, is a precaution. These ghusls should be done with the niyyah of raja, like to say with the hope that it might be a desirable act. شيخنا احنا مو سامعين انه تروح لزيارة المعصوم انت بتعبك بملابسك اشعث اغبر مو هيك, خب روح ما يخالف, بس مو تروح ريحتك جايفة بحيث انت تدخل للحرم وتطفر كل الزوار من يمك بسبب ريحة العرق وبسبب الوساخة. هاي شنو؟ مو اكو عندنا, مو اخذنا بالعقائد الاتيكيت مال الزيارة, اتيكيت الزيارة انه لازم تكون تلبس احسن ثيابك. هسه ما نشترط ما عندك تشتري هدوم جديدة, احسن ثيابك اللي عندك انظفهن, تتعطر وتجي تزور الامام. يعني مو شرط انت تروح بوساختك وكذا. هسه تقول اذا اكو حديث للامام انه واحد اول ما يجي بالزيارة يروح يزور رأس, اي خب روح زور, ولكن لا تأذي لك احد بريحتك يعني بالوساخة مال جسمك كذا. مو يعني واقعا when I have a meeting with a king or a president, is it possible to meet him with the dirty clothes or with bad smell? Absolutely not. So how it comes with infallible imam? Anyhow, ruling number 654. After having taken the mustahab ghusl listed in rule number 652, just like ghusl al-jum'ah, one can perform acts which require tahara, just like a prayer, for which wudu is necessary. However, ghusl performed with the niyyah of raja, do not suffice for wudu. That means wudu has to be performed. For example, the ghusl of the first day of the month, or the ghusl of the middle day of the month, the 15th day, or the ghusl of the last day of the month. These ghusls, it cannot be enough or suffice not performing wudu. So we have to perform what? We have to perform wudu with that ghusl. Ruling number 655. If a person wishes to perform a number of wajib or mustahab ghusls, one ghusl with the niyyah of performing all the ghusls will be sufficient. Just like for example, today is a Friday, is the first of the month. I want to visit the holy shrine of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. In this case, one ghusl will be enough. As a precautionary measure, if a person performs any ghusl to represent al-Jum'ah ghusl without mention it, even if it is in general, إشكال. غسل الجمعة يختلف. يعني to have another recommended ghusl and you have in your intention Jum'ah ghusl will be included but without mentioning, this is a matter of إشكال. غسل الجمعة مشكلة, يعني إذا تردون تضمون بقية الأغسال لغسل الجمعة بس تحددون غسل الجمعة. ها؟ إيه حتى لو جنابة وجمعة حددوا الجمعة يشيل الجنابة. And so the actual ghusl, whether it is to enter the specific place like the holy Mecca or to fulfill a certain act like ihram, if he performs ghusl with the niyyah of qurba without the intention of the other ghusl in details will be valid. حتى لو يقول كل الأغسال المستحبة اللي علي المفروض أغتسلها ينويها بغسل الجمعة ما عندنا مشكلة. أما ما يذكر غسل الجمعة لا مشكلة. يعني مثلا نويت أغتسل غسل الجمعة وشنو الأغسال اللي مستحبة عليه أي لازم الجمعة. The intention will be belong the other in general. خلي أعيدها هذه شوية. As precautionary measure, if a person performs any ghusl to represent al-Jum'ah ghusl without mentioning ghusl al-Jum'ah, even if it is in general, even if this was in general to mention ghusl al-Jum'ah ishkal. So you have to mention what? You have to mention ghusl al-Jum'ah. And so the actual ghusl, whether it is to enter a specific place like the holy Mecca or to fulfill a certain act like ihram, so you have to mention what is this ghusl. This ghusl for wearing ihram, this ghusl for entering the holy Kaaba, this ghusl for entering Mecca. If he performs ghusl with the niyyah of qurba without intention of the other ghusl in details, will be valid. The intention will be belong the other in general. Tayammum inshallah will come next lecture. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj.